We will begin this session with a keynote address by Mr. Mathew Oommen from Jio. May I request him to please come up on the stage, please?
Hello. I still think it's good morning. Good morning, everybody. And, whenever I come here, it's extremely happy I am to be here. I hope all of you are happy. Because when you think about the world is in transformation. Digital is in transformation. India is in transformation, folks. If you look at India has become bolder, stronger, politically, economically, technologically, especially on the IT side, if you will. And we are now striving to become a leader in the space of digital technology, digital platforms, semiconductor technology, because we want to have the IPR of self-reliance. Last night, our former secretary, Ms. Sundararajan, made a statement. The industry needs to have a will. And let me assure you, ma'am, we can and we will become self-reliant, because India is going to be the success of India's digital connection. When everyone, everything, everywhere, every place is going to get connected, it is important that we offer meaningful connections. What I mean by meaningful connections is yesterday, two things I want to talk about from yesterday. Our Minister of Communications made a very inspiring speech yesterday, and he gave us two things, even in his speech. One was inclusiveness, that digital has to be inclusive for everyone. Second was manufacturing. That means indigenous manufacturing. Indigenous because it has to be manufacturing as well as exported. When I look at IMC, the last 3 years has been very well done by a great team, by Mr. Rajan Matthews, Mr. Ramki, and Mr. Rajan Matthews last night again made a statement at ENY that the bureaucrats of India, they are better understood when they are in hot water. I was like, that is interesting, because he said they are like tea, because when they are like tea, you put the tea in hot water and you can see the greatness. And he was referring specifically to Ms. Sundararajan. And when I think about COAI is always in hot waters and troubled waters. And what do? They need some grace. And they bring in Grace Matthews, Rajan Matthews, and Ramki. And thank you very much, folks. And I think we need to give them an applause for doing a very good job the third year. Thank you for the team. Now, my only two things that I will add, COI. You talk about this year's IMC as being inventive, innovative, and immersive. Let's listen to the minister, let's listen to the audience, if you will, and to India, and add two more I's. Rather than the 3 I's, make it 5 I, which is inclusiveness and indigenous. Right? Inclusiveness is an important character in our digital society. Last night, again, we talked about Mr. Darshan Singh, a farmer. The farmer who has become a YouTube icon. Why? In inclusiveness, when 70% of India is rural India, and everything is getting connected, and everyone is getting connected, how can we as a nation, how can we as an industry leave 400 million or more than 400 million of our users digitally unconnected in 2G? We are moving to 5G, and we want to leave them 3 generations behind, our own people, and not be inclusive. I think we, as an industry, has to have the will to make them change and be part of 5G. And I dare ourselves to do that. And when we think about what has happened and what is to happen, if you will, when we started 3 years ago, we were 0.2 exabyte. Today, in 2019, we are 0.56 exabyte of data. What has happened and what is to happen, right? When you think of everything connected today and everyone getting connected, you think about the paramount things that India needs, which is food productivity, CO2 emission management. We need to talk about higher crop yields, energy waste. Now, those are very important as we, as an industry, shape India's and Indians' tomorrow. Thank you for having me at IMC. Welcome to IMC. And as always, I will have a few slides to show you. First, it starts with what are the global technical trends. If you look at it, 2030, $13 trillion in AI to be impacting globally. Backlash in the cryptocurrency. MasterCard, Visa, PayPal, all of them have left the Libra Foundation, the Libra Consortium. Blockchain, 162 billion. The other one, most important, is these adaptive robots. I'm sure you guys know about Transformers, Mr. Optimus Prime. Think about Mr. Optimus Prime, the new robot. The robot that can go dig under a rubble to look for individuals by changing shape. And then the same robot getting up, walking, and going to his autonomous car. That is actually a reality today with adaptive robots. Made in China, semiconductor, for IPR, for India, for China, for everyone, is a very important component. Organs on a chip. My friends, today, pharmaceutical takes about 15 to 18 years to create a new drug. And organs take about 15 to 30 years to create an organ. Think about you have the MATLAB of engineering in the chip design to be available to organs. That means you can simulate without trialing it in rats and animals. That's the new world. Now, our hard disks and our solid state devices of today could be becoming obsolete because DNA sequencing is going to be the new storage where the footprint will be zettabytes in small, tiny bits. So the world of storage is going to be changing. Access denial weapons. And when you look at it, by 2022, over $1 trillion is going to be spent on cybersecurity. We all talk about 4D. We know about the howdy 4D, and I think it's important now we talk about the howdy 5D. Now, in India, when you think about the howdy 5D, D is the big digital, right? Because we are 1.4 billion strong, and India's democracy, 600 million, 140 million in the US, 50% of our population, less than 29, 30 years old, and GDP is continuing to growing. I understand there are headwinds in global growth as well as India's growth, but the investment climate, the FDI climate, the taxation climate, the policy climate, I think there is a role that the government is playing, and there is a role that we as an industry needs to play. And let me also assure you that for us to drive the industry, we have to look behind or beyond the connectivity business of 2G, 3G, and 4G, and I will talk precisely about that in a minute. And what about digital? Because digital is an area of opportunism, or rather opportunity. It is an area of entrepreneurship. Digital is an area of transparency, and how digital gets us to 5 trillion, and what is it that we have to do as an industry to transition. When we look at 2G, 3G, 4G, to me, it is a voice data consumer business, and that is the internet economy of connectivity. we in the digital economy, it's an age of what I term as the connected intelligence, where horizontal technologies are coming to the doorstep. Because so far, we have had 2G, 3G, 4G that only do one thing. Horizontal technologies are coming, which is 5G is a horizontal technology, and we're going to talk about that. IoT is a horizontal technology. We're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about cloud native, blockchain, AIML has horizontal technologies. So when you look at the horizontal technologies of what is going to transform the telecom provider, what is going to transform digital India, it is what I call as, for the operator community, for the telecom community, there are 5 critical blocks. That is 5G, IoT, cloud/edge computing, blockchain, and AIML. Now, when these 5 comes, there is, of course, collaborative technology that comes with it as an extensible technology, partnership or otherwise. And one key component is going to be robotics, whether it is personal robotics, military robotics, healthcare robotics, etc. And, of course, open. I'm a big believer in open, and we're going to talk specifically about open and the digital twins. What is the digital twins? To me, digital twins is the new video. The video of today is changed. So digital twins is when physical and virtual not just connect, they interact. That is when mixed reality comes in, and that is the world of the new video. Now, when you look at this as an operator, I look at our operator as sandwiched between what I call as the things and the consumer. What do I mean by that? So that means you have the things, the consumer, the business, and the digital platforms. 4 layers, just imagine that with me. And the operator is focused predominantly on the consumer business, sandwiched between the business and the things. When you look at things, things can deliver businesses to the, if you start talking to me, I will have a problem because my brain works without thinking. Thank you. And so, see, what happens is when you think about the digital technology of today, it is important not to be sandwiched, if you will, between business and the things. Because things support consumer, things support business. The digital platforms support business, the digital platforms support consumer. So there is a great opportunity for the connectivity infrastructure provider, who we are, which is the telecom infrastructure provider, to transition into a horizontal infrastructure provider, i.e. the new digital infrastructure provider, where we can be the growth engine of the industry, where we can own each one of these 5 components that I have on the screen, right? Because that is the biggest opportunity that we have. And combine that opportunity with AR/MR being the new video and robotics being an extension, along with the most important component of all of this is open. Today, in the history of the world, for the first time, if you ask me, RAN technology, that is the radio access network technology, is open in 5G. So it is no longer that you can only have a Nokia, you can only have an Ericsson, you can only have a Huawei, you can have any plug and play from any third party. That is what open has given us. And we have, through Open RAN, has become a board member of Open RAN as Jio, and we have many other players, even from India, very actively participating. And we want to work to make sure that India gets its self-reliance in RAN and the 5G ecosystem through open. So open is a very important component. And then, for all of these horizontal technologies and the 3 collaboration technology that I mentioned about, data, privacy, data security, data autonomy, data economy, that is data monetization. All of these are important from a security standpoint because there are certain companies who use you, me, we, the people, the places, the things as their business. So it is very important that we have the right security, whether it is offensive security, whether it is defensive security, whether it is proactive security, if you will. We need to make sure we have the security framework that our nation needs, our industry needs, so that we can protect our citizens and our nation and our platforms so that we are self-reliant. And we are going to talk about that in a little bit. This, to me, is digital freedom. Digital freedom is not digital connectivity alone. Digital freedom is not digital experience alone. What we don't want to do is have digital colonization, right? We want to have the digital freedom. And to have the digital freedom, you need to own IPR. We have to create IPR. IPR, be it chipsets, be it sensors, be it technologies, so that we are not just enablers of IPR, but rather creators and owners of IPR, because I think it is important for us to have that for digital freedom. 5G is an overhyped term. 5G can only happen if the right amount of spectrum, with the right amount of bandwidth, with the right amount of transmission power is delivered in this country. We are deliberating and deliberating, I think, for a very long time. It is important between the regulatory, between DOT, with the telecom partners, with the industry, with COAI, we work together, because I heard a very, what I call as a distressing story in terms of how 26 gigahertz, 28 gigahertz, and even 3.5 gigahertz is going to be managed. It is extremely important we work together as collaborative partners with the government, with DOT and others to address it so that 5G becomes a reality. Otherwise, I think we may get pushed out, and we do not want that ecosystem to be delayed. Now, indigenous 5G ecosystem, and I told you this earlier, Telecom 4.0 with 4G is closed, 3G is closed, but with 5G, there is an opportunity because it's open. The opportunity is there. I have heard many industrial stalwarts in India tell me it takes us billions of dollars to create the 5G ecosystem in India. If Chandrayaan can take hundreds of millions and not billions to get to the moon, let me assure you, because I am well versed in RAN, and I can tell you, with all the work that I have done to date, we can do this in tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, not in billions of dollars, and India can indeed be self-sufficient, because we do not want to be reliant on a technology and security where we don't have the right of control in terms of IPR. And in the 5G sufficiency, let me also, I've put a little technical slide, pardon me on it, but basically 5G is broken up into the central unit, actually the core network, the central unit, the distribution unit, and the radio unit. And let me tell you, between each one of these units, there are open interfaces. What you see in brown, yellow, red, whatever that I can't see because what is on the screen, I think it is orange, pink, that is hardware. The rest of it predominantly is software that can be run on cards. Even that hardware, we can create it. There is a methodology to do that in-house in tens of millions of dollars and not billions. Now, just a few quick pointers. Spectrum availability, we talk about that spectrum needs to come at the right price, at the right amount, at the right time, at the right predictability. And the next one I want to talk about is fiber proliferation. There cannot be 5G without fiber because they go hand in hand. If you cannot have backhaul and you cannot have deep fiber with backhaul, we are just not doing the right thing in making 5G available. So it is not fiber or 5G, it is both need to go hand in hand. But there are areas from an FWA perspective that gives you the last of the last miles that you can leverage 5G. but otherwise 5G and fiber is very important. I think this ROW business of 2016 has not necessarily worked because, and I heard the Honorable Minister the other day say he's going to call all the right players into the room and work with them. In addition to that, I challenge that we, as part of our decentralized planning between center-state relationship, that we use the Broadband Readiness Index, the BRI. That means if a state does well in these 10 metrics, they will get additional incentives. It is not just about digital incentives, but certain other incentives that can be provided to them. Because that is very important. Now, in terms of policy reforms for growth, I absolutely think that there is 50,000 crores residing in the USO. And I do not know why there is capital inefficiency in our nation. In fact, I was listening to none other than Mr. Rajiv Kumar of Niti Aayog VC, who made a very bold statement. We cannot have underutilized money sitting anywhere. Whether it is underutilized, zero-utilized spectrum, or whether it is underutilized, zero-utilized money, because when everyone sits on the dais and talks about that the sector is under stress, there are 50,000 crores in USO fund, there are 35,000 crores in GST credit that is lying. That's almost 100,000 crores that is underutilized, unutilized. Let that be used for capital efficiency. One last thing that I want to talk about, extremely important for us as a nation, for us as an operator, DNS. What is DNS? DNS means Domain Name Resolver. That means when you type www.timesofindia.com, it resolves into an IP address. That DNS today is controlled by telecom operators locally. Whoever provides the ISP, whoever provides the last mile connectivity is the one who connects, who provides the DNS capability. But what is happening now is the entities that own the browsers, that means companies that own browsers, want to put DNS inside their browsers hard-coded. That means when I write timesofindia.com, it could be going to Jamaica and coming back. It could be going to US and coming back. It could be going to China and coming back. We don't know. So, and also, when the government tells the industry telecom providers, can you block this URL? Or an enterprise says, I don't want all my people watching YouTube. Can you block this URL? Now, you may have to dial some other person sitting somewhere remotely to call for help, because no longer the operator will have control. India will not have control. Security will not have control. This is a very important topic. And the last one, the digital society. And the digital society is the new world we are in. Folks, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about this industry. I'm very passionate about this nation. And I'm very passionate about digitization. But it's important that security and indigenous IPR is equally important. For us, as we build the digital society, as we build the digital infrastructure, we have the accountability and to ethically and responsibly manage the advanced technology for the good of mankind, for peace, for prosperity, and above all, I will say, for managing and preserving this beautiful world and the land we live in. Thank you very much for having me here.